Stop pushing it off on other people about how to educate your own children. It's your job. It's not the government's job. It's not the teacher's job. It's your job. It's your children. You made them. You raised them.
Hello and welcome back to the Hannah Frankman podcast. On today's episode, I'm speaking with Tim Kennedy. Tim is best known as a former UFC fighter and as a Green Beret active in the Special Forces. But Tim is also a real-life grown-up homeschooler. And he's the founder of a nationwide program called Apogee Strong for both adults and kids. And he's the founder of a network of schools called Apogee, the first of which launched in Cedar Park, Texas, just north of Austin in 2022. He's currently in the process of scaling that network of schools nationwide with 50 new locations opening in the fall of 2024. And in today's episode, Tim and I talk about why he cares so much about education and why he feels like education is one of the most important problems that is facing America. We talk about how he's scaling a network of schools so quickly and what other school founders can learn from his approach. And we talk about why having parents involved in a child's education, learning alongside their kids, is such a core part of the Apogee philosophy, and why Tim believes that education starts at home with the parents, not in a school or in a system or even with a teacher. I had so much fun recording this episode. Prior to recording this, probably 15 minutes before you hear us talking, I had my first experience with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu at Tim's gym. I had the full Tim Kennedy experience going up to record this episode. And Tim was very kind to invite me into his space, into his very cool studio, which you will see in a moment to record this. And I really hope that you enjoy listening. If you enjoyed this episode or if you've enjoyed previous episodes, please leave a 5-star rating on Apple or Spotify. Your reviews mean so much to me. I'm very grateful for them. And please remember to subscribe on Apple, Spotify, or YouTube to make sure you never miss a future episode. Okay, let's hear from Tim Kennedy. All right, I have to start with the most obvious question.
Okay.
Why does a soldier start a school?
Yeah, We'll distinguish the differences between a special forces guy and a soldier.
Please.
A special forces job is to train people. Mm-hmm. Like everybody thinks like Green Berets are like sneaking through the woods, right, with their eyes painted black. What we do is go overseas and train other people. Like we are teachers all the time to language barriers, cultural differences, like in the least sympathetic environments to be an instructor, in conflict areas, non-permissive environments. In these non-permissive areas, we have to go and teach people how to fight for their lives. So with that, there's kind of two motivations. One, I think the greatest teachers on the planet are people that aren't actual teachers. Like they have a heart and they have a skill for wanting to impart knowledge into other people. And special forces, that's how we select somebody, is we look for those people and then we enhance and train those characteristics within them. And then the other part is I'm a father. So I'm a Green Beret that is a teacher, and then I'm a father of 4. And when those two things come together, like you want to talk about passion, about wanting to pass on knowledge to other people, when you're seeing a country that you fought for your whole entire life slowly start disintegrating because of our education system, you start getting really passionate about wanting to make a difference.
We have to dig into that because, you know, I'm a harsh critic of the public education system.
Welcome aboard. Here we go.
But you have such an interesting angle or perspective on it as a soldier. How much of, like you just said, that the country is falling apart because of the education system. Mm-hmm. That's a very bold claim to make, and that's a very specific thing to pin a lot of the problems that we have in America on. Can you expand on
I'm talking like strategic level concern where like if the president of the United States and the secretary of the army and the secretary of defense are looking at public education and being like, bro, we did this wrong. Like we messed up. Because when you look at basic training, you look at ASVAB scores, you look at GT scores, all you see is fat, broken, obese, gelatinous masses that aren't even eligible for service. you're tracking, pushing now 80%, 70% of American youth are not eligible for service because of obesity, criminal records, drug use, and just basic test scores. They're too dumb and they're too fat to be in the military right now. And this is a national crisis. This is like strategic national concern where we don't have enough able-bodied young people to protect this country. Then you go to combat arms, which pick from the regular military, and there's a smaller population, so they're smaller to pick from. And then special operations picks from that population of combat arms. Now you're talking like it just keeps shrinking, where ultimately there's not enough people to do any of the jobs. And by the time you get to elite roles, there's nobody left. And when I say that they're dumb and they're broken, I used to jump out of trees as a kid, right? I'd roughhouse with my brothers, and like our bones were, and I'm not disparaging this generation because I get it, things change. But they jump out, they get ready to go to airborne school, and they break their legs, they blow their knees out. They just keep getting hurt because they're soft. They're literally soft, fat kids. And that's just the ones that are eligible to go, which is an ever-shrinking number. Lowest participation in sports, in high school, in the history of this country. Like, it's frightening. It has to be fixed.
It is frightening, and it's a distortion even of like whether or not you agree with what public education was designed to do, and I think it was full of holes from the beginning. It was originally intended to create civilians who were useful economically, but also for, like, it was built off the Prussian education model, which was a military model, which was intended to recruit soldiers. So you look at like, it was already a broken system in many regards. You can critique it from the beginning, but then you look at what it has become now, where the people who are graduating from it aren't even useful for, you know, economic value in combat anymore. It's very frightening. Have you observed in your career in the military, like a decline in the young people that you've seen coming out of school? Like, how stark has it been for you?
I'm nearly 2 decades in special operations.
Yeah.
And in the past 10 years, I can barely process, like understand how it happened so fast. Where in 10 years, you're just like, and I get to see the best. You know, the young men that I get to see come into the teams and come into special operations, I have so much hope that there's more like them. But then you look to the data and you look for the recruiting effort, and you see that there's not. Like, we are really finding these diamonds in the rough, and they are just so few and far between. And while I'm hopeful, it's also disheartening to know what an uphill battle we're in right now. And I'm not without hope, because I know that, you know, the Titanic only needed to be turned a couple of degrees to not hit that iceberg, and we can still do that. But you go to the origin, like you said, the beginning of this education model, and it's fully flawed. It was economic in motivation. You're trying to build tax mules. You're trying to build consumers. You want somebody just smart enough to be a labor force that could work, that would need to consume, and could build the things that you could sell to other people so that you could tax both groups. I don't want that for my children. I don't want tax mules. I want innovators. I want inventors. I want collaborators. I want dreamers. I want somebody that's going to cure cancer. I want somebody that's going to bring peace to this world. And that's not going to come from somebody whose purpose is to uphold the tax burden of this country. Hard pass.
The criticisms of the public education system make sense. And I think a very large number of parents in America are in agreement with you. You also live in Austin, which is one of the biggest hotbeds of innovation and education in the entire country. Why start your own school? What was missing?
The same thing that is missing everywhere was missing here. Texas and Florida really are the leaders in education through the United States. You know, if Texas and Florida do it, like Texas just passed school choice, as did Arkansas. You know, like when Texas passes it, and they will, that is going to move school choice in into almost all other 50 states. Like there'll be some school unions and some teacher unions that will have such strong lobbyists, it'll be very difficult to overthrow them. But this is what parents want and what parents need. And so why start it here? It's I have school-aged children still, and I have children that are out of like proper school and have moved on to like being adult and choosing their own journey and choose their own adventure story. And seeing the struggles that my older children had, and both on the private and public education side, seeing some great teachers and some truly evil teachers, seeing some bullies and some really great kids, seeing Apogee has sought sovereignty for the individual family. I believe, and it's my opinion, that the backbone, the strength, the foundation, the cornerstones of this country goes down to the nuclear family, all the way down to the family unit. And that unit has been attacked by every single organization that wants to destroy America. So why start a school here? It's because I wanted to empower parents and I wanted to empower families to take sovereignty and control and freedom back to themselves, to include their family and their children. And I want not just here, what I did, I want everyone else to do. And that's why the special operations model of force multiplication, where we're like training other people how to do it. Not only are we training children and training the heroes, we're now training the new school owners how to do it themselves. So when somebody goes on to the comments thread on Instagram, is like, man, I can't wait for you to open a school here. Like, you're missing the point, man. That's not how this works. I'm not opening a school for you. You are opening a school for you. I'm just giving you the keys to the castle. I'm giving you the curriculum. I'm showing you how to run it. I'm advising and consulting you. Matt Boudreau is an absolute monster and a genius and a force for good. He gets in there, you're going to seminars, you're going to these symposiums, you're learning everything you have to learn about how to run your own school. That's sovereignty. Stop pushing it off on other people about how to educate your own children. It's your job. It's not the government's job. It's not the teacher's job. It's your job. It's your children. You made them. You raised them.
How much of the difference in philosophy between some of the other innovative models that were, especially in Austin, because you could have sent your kids to any number of like Montessori schools here, the other Acton academies here, Alpha School downtown. There's so many different models that all are very focused on all of the things that public school is missing in the way the curriculum is structured and the academics are structured, maybe lack of curriculum altogether, to nurture a child becoming a strong, independent, self-directed person. Was the big thing that you thought was missing the family side, or were there other differences that you had in how you wanted to structure a learning experience that also deviated from the other options that were already here?
I love all those schools. Like, I love Montessori schools. I love international language-based schools. I love Acton. Our first school, the Apogee Cedar Park, that was first in Acton Cedar Park. And Matt Boudreau, my partner in Apogee Strong, he was running 2 gigantic Acton campuses in California. There's, I don't think, a single perfect approach in raising and educating children. When I say there's not a perfect way to do it, it's because every child is beautifully different and every family needs something slightly different. And I love what all of those schools do in their approach to it. Project-driven learning, to a truly Socratic, to classical education, to like awesome. What we really wanted was to empower the individual family with sovereignty, and we wanted the power and authority to be back in the parents' hands. So here at Apogee Cedar Park, this was the testing grounds, and we did not get it perfect the first year. We obviously came out of the gates as an Acton, like, man, okay, we're missing some things. Talking with Matt, he comes and starts helping me. We start building something slightly different. We have a huge fallout from year 1 to year 2 with staff and what the approach looks like. And now, really excited, year 3 now, highest retention that that we've had, and seeing all of the families want to stay and come back, knowing that we can increase capacity. We're looking at land right up the road. We're like doing our due diligence, like where we can build our final campus and our future home. All the things that like we've had these aspirations for, and you're working towards, but we're not there yet. And I hope that we never arrive, but those differences from all of the different great, fantastic schools here, I think the biggest one was really recognizing that we want the full family to be responsible for each other. And like, I'm not gonna, on the Socratic model of exclusively a learner-driven environment, I want them to assume individual responsibility and to take their education into their own hands, being guided by the guide and being closely observed by the parents. So everybody wants the best thing for that individual hero. And then like the sky's the limit.
Can you expand on what you mean when you say you hope that you never arrive? Is it just the passivity of no longer striving towards something better?
Yeah, like I'm gonna have like a perfect campus someday. Never, right? We've been fighting to find the right land for 2 years, and cool. Like I think we're nearly there. Then we got to build, and then I have 5 phases of what the build looks like. And then like, are we gonna have chickens? Are we gonna have goats? Or what does the playscape look like?
Totally have chickens.
Absolutely, we will. Are we gonna have chickens, goats, and rabbits all at the same time? Are we gonna do one per semester or session? Like, I never want us to be content and settled. I always want us to be struggling and problem solving and critically thinking. And when I say we, like you walk into one of these studios this morning, I was like, hey, enrollment starts today. To the children, like to the kids, to the heroes. I'm gonna shoot a video. We're gonna go to the waiting list. The way that it works is when you apply to the school, there's a bunch of like hoops you have to jump through for us to make sure that you're a right fit for the school. And then after you jump through those hoops, then you come and you audition. The hero comes in and like we talk to you. Like all the heroes are like hanging out and talking. Where are you from? What do you think? Do you like this? Do you like, what are your hobbies? Do you enjoy collaborating? Like, have you ever done a Socratic discussion? You want to sit down on the carpet, this is the way it's going to work. You're going to have to pick a side. You're going to have to defend that. You're going to have to be respectful, and you're going to have succinct points. And all these heroes are talking through all these things. And that's an audition. Like, you're not in the school yet. Then the family comes in. And then we audition the family. And then you'll have an invitation from the heroes in that studio to the child, to the new hero coming into the studio. And so when I walked in, I get to ask the heroes in the studio, like, hey, I'm gonna like announce that we're open enrollment. What do you guys want to do? And the video that I shot this morning, they designed that video. They picked which questions we're gonna ask, who's gonna answer the questions, and then we filmed it. We're done in 90 seconds. Like, that was done by 10-year-olds.
That's amazing. I saw it this morning. It's a good video.
10-year-olds did that. Yeah.
They did a great job.
Yeah. Today's episode is sponsored by the company with the coolest name on the planet, the John Galt Mortgage Company. My friends Mitch and Tim launched the John Galt Mortgage Company earlier this year. They'd been working in the real estate world for years, and they realized that mortgages are way more expensive than they need to be. Most people don't realize how much extra profit is baked into the cost of a mortgage. Most real estate agents don't even know. So Mitch and Tim decided to build a new kind of mortgage, one where they voluntarily cap their profit on every transaction. And by lowering their commission, they pass the savings on to you in the form of a lower interest rate than what everyone else is charging. I talked to Mitch and Tim just this past week, and they were telling me about their customers who are saving hundreds of dollars a month on their monthly mortgage payments compared to what they would be paying with a traditional lender. Mitch and Tim are dear friends of mine who believe in economic liberty, entrepreneurship, and financial independence. They also named their company the John Galt Mortgage Company, which tells you everything you need to know about them. While I am not currently in the market for a house, when I am, I absolutely will be working with them as my mortgage broker. And if you're in the market for a house, you can find out more about them at www.johngaltmortgage.com. Or you can find a link to their site down in the show notes. Okay, back to the show. I want to talk a little bit about the mechanics of getting this off the ground, because what you've done in a couple of years is really impressive and also really interesting. So you started as an act-in. How long were you running the act-in before you decided to start your own school and call it Apogee?
6 to 8 months.
Oh, really fast turnaround.
Yeah.
Okay. And there were limitations to what you were doing inside of the act-in that made it very clear very quickly that it was not the path forward, or like why that quick pivot?
There are definite expectations about what, from both sides, like an act-in campus is going to look like this. And I'm sure you can imagine I'm not good at being told what to do. And I don't want to take that and then force, like you're telling me to do this, and then I have to tell the guides in each studio that they have to do this way. And then I have to tell the parents that they're not allowed to participate in these things with these kids. Like that I just said like 3 things that I'm not really good at, which is like telling a family what to do with their own children. Man, that's a little bridge too far. Cause like you come to me and tell me what I'm going to be doing with my kids. It's the last time I'm gonna talk to you. And, but then I want you to have sovereignty and freedom, but then come to this school where I'm going to take that from you. Right? Like there's just things that aren't connecting there. So after a few of those iterations, it was obvious in both directions that like, this is, we're going to do something different. And at the same time, Matt is experiencing and struggling with these same questions. And this is kind of like peak COVID, where lots of people are telling people what to do with their kids. And like, you're not going to tell me what I'm going to do with my kids. I'm not going to do it. And not in California, not in Texas, not anywhere. So we learned a lot of really great lessons in this peak overreach of lots of different entities, lots of different groups that thought they had authority over us. And sovereignty, I think, is the superior idea to freedom. Sovereignty is, I can do something for me and I have the ability to make these choices, and there's no lever, there's no leverage, there's nothing that you have over me to influence my decisions on what's best for me and my family. That's sovereignty. Now, when you have leverage, when you have, no, your kid has to do this thing to attend the school, your kid wants to get on a bus, you want to get on a plane, you have to show me this thing that I told you to do. You don't have sovereignty. And I want families to be sovereign.
How does that work inside the structure of a school? Like, what is the balance that you found? And I imagine perhaps it is a moving target.
Yeah.
But where
a beautifully moving target though, right?
Yes. But where are you finding the flex point between, you have to have some structure to have an organization, and you have, like, you're offering families something, but then still allowing them the dignity of their own sovereignty, or like respecting their sovereignty. Where is that line?
Well, it's really collaborative. You know, we have a really wonderful relationship with all the families in the school. So they come to us, much to the chagrin of like the staff who field the questions, who do the polls, who do the conversations. You know, as we have Socratic conversations with the kids, we have Socratic conversations with the adults. When I give them updates, I wish it was like a regular like school, like the staff gets up in there and like, all right, so this is what's going on. The school library is going to be open for. That's not the way it is. You know, I go up and I give them like a 10-minute summary of kind of what things are going on and what direction we're heading and some changes, whether it's going to be like a staff change or student change or studio change or whatever's happening.
Yeah.
And then it's like melee. It's mayhem, chaos, and anarchy as hands are flying up and we're like arguing. And the discourse that used to happen in American society, where you and I disagree on something and we argue about it, and the best idea, the cream rises to the top. And as we continue to debate, and as we continue to, not like disrespectfully, but argue, the better ideas from both of us then maybe create a new idea, and that's the final version, and that happens in real time. So while from curriculum selection to projects during a certain session to what the playscape's going to look like we have financial limitations because we're running a business, and we operate like a nonprofit, but we are a for-profit. So like we take tuition, all of that money, every single cent goes back into the school. Like not a single person has made money off of running the school, and the absolutely least of all me. And then Apogee Strong, like the parent entity, the large, now 50 schools and online mentorship program, even the money from that feeds back into the organization to help launch schools. Like we were giving away thousands of dollars to schools last week to help them launch their own campuses. We want them to have sovereignty, but we also want to have sovereignty with a little accelerant to ensure that they're powerful, sovereign entities.
That makes sense. We have to talk about how you're scaling this thing, because what you're doing is really impressive. You're 50xing this year in the fall in 2024.
Yeah.
You have 50 schools opening. You have one location currently.
Yeah, do you think we can do that again next year? 50x?
I mean, if you can do it once, I don't see why not.
That's right.
But you're gonna.
My girl. That's what we're doing.
Yeah,
you think we're done at 50 schools?
Oh, of course.
Until we abolish the Department of Education, or
oh, you are speaking my language.
They assume the responsibility of their failure and start reinventing their whole entire organization. They burn that thing to the ground, and like a phoenix rising from the ashes. Until that happens, we're going to keep doing this.
This is what I dream about at night. You are speaking my language. We have to talk about the mechanics, though, because I've watched many schools and different programs and modalities expand, and some of them move very quickly, but I've never seen one move as fast as what you're doing. Especially the model that you're running, where you have individual people who are taking on, are they franchises? Like, what is the structure? And also, how have you scaled this so quickly?
Yeah. So back to the special operations model. Advise, assist, and accompany, the 3 A's. These are the ways that if I'm going to go forward and fight with, like, let's just say we wanted to overthrow the communist slash socialist regime of Venezuela. Like, how would that look? Like, it's not like I'm going to take a bunch of dudes, we're going to airborne our way in there and then like overthrow the government. There's a bunch of people that are starving, they're waiting in bread lines, hyperinflation, like, they're a few meals away from starving to death. There's plenty of people that would love to see that place get overthrown. So we go in there, we find a bunch of people that share our values, that want to see like democracy, and they want to have food on their table again. So you find those people, you give them the skills and the tools to be able to like fight for themselves, and then you help them fight. Like that's the advise, the assist, and accompany. So like the buy with and through model. Instead of, you talk about like multiple organizations and education models have quickly grown, but none like this. It's truly because we are by, with, and through the individual, giving them everything that we know and allowing them and empowering them to do it themselves. So the hardest thing for us is the discretion and discernment that we are picking the right. So we had 1,000-something schools apply to open the first location.
Wow.
Yeah. We picked 50.
Wow.
We could have done 1,000 if we just said, yeah, go for it. But what we did instead for year one growth is, first, let's have a proof of concept. So at this school, let's start playing with these different models. Not that, like, and I hate that this location was an experiment, but we truly learned all the different ways that we could fail, and we failed in lots of different ways. So then we were like, okay, this is working. These are the things that we want to do. This is how we're assuming the sovereignty, and this is how we're giving back to the community, and this is how we're giving back to the heroes. Great. Now let's check the skill for us to grow in a vertical online. So then the online mentorship happens, led by Matt. We see this just explode. We are then able to say who wants to open next schools, and then when all of these 1,000-some-odd people applied and asked to open their school, we can be really judicious in picking which ones are going to be our first. So now we have high confidence that we're going to have 50 great schools next year. We're opening them this year, and the next year we are going to have 50 new models that we're going to be learning from that will even more refine the lessons learned, so that when we go to 500 schools, the little bits of the nuggets that we think is gold, or all the lessons that we have passed on to them, the keys to the castle of Here's the curriculum that we're choosing, why we're choosing it. This is the way that we use enrollment. These are the different systems that there's options. This is how we did the econ. This is how we set up the website. This is how we selected our building. This is how we did our overhead. Here's the P&L. Here's how we did our bookkeeping. Here's how we did our payroll. Like all the things that you don't think about when you're opening school. Here's a really easy way. Like you find 10 homeschool families and you guys pool your resources. That's your first 10 families in your school. And then you can, instead of each of you fighting for like little bits of crumbs falling off the table, you can compile all of those meals and all of those resources and like have one person dedicated to organizing it. And now you just get to grow as large as you want or as small as you can maintain. And having the confidence in the competence of others, knowing that we have given them the tools to be successful. And now I can have the confidence that you are competently going to be running your own school. Go. Go. Like Jesus told the disciples, spread the gospel. That's all I got to say to you. Go.
The vetting of 1,000 people sounds very time consuming.
Yeah.
Beyond that.
It's 2024. It's not.
No?
No.
Okay. Can we talk about that for a second? Like how did you blow through this?
Well, the greatest thing was that the people inside of the Apogee Strong mentorship program, we'd spent a year with most of these people already. So I could go within any given region or network or group community within this online community and have, I don't know about that one. You know, like they say some pretty wild stuff. So sure, run the backgrounds.
Yeah.
Absolutely check into finances. Let's go ahead and look at your business plan. Let's look at the logistics of what is the location that you're going to be picking. Those are easy things to look at. Yeah. But more importantly, let's look at the character. Let's look at the morality and the ethics of this person. Yeah. And how am I going to find that? I'm going to find that from your peers. And we have had this community. So like if people are asking like, well, how do I open a school in 25? Well, you get into the Apogee Strong program because as we start selecting who those next group of like the next wave of schools are going to be opening, like we're only going to be opening people that we know and people that are in network that we have confidence in their competence.
That makes sense. I want to talk a little bit too about the parent involvement side of things because like you're talking about not just raising kids, you're raising families. And I know that you have reading lists for the whole families. I know you have other activities that the whole family is participating in. Can you talk a little bit more about what that looks like? Because that's a really unusual part of the model, and I love it.
Yeah. At what point did we start separating children from their parents?
Early 1900s, roughly.
Yeah,
and then what? Bad decision.
Yeah, and then what started happening?
Society started to decline.
Right. So societal decline. Destruction of morality, confusion about identity and every bit to, I mean, all the way up to the biological elements of who we are as people, like that getting so confused. And when like the fabric of science is being unwoven from an individual and their mind, the perception about what it means to be who they are, like we got problems. So like, let's just start reeling that back in. So how do you do that? You just start bringing families back together. You know, like if I'm here, I make every meal for my family. I'm there for breakfast and I'm there for dinner and I cook for them. The books that my kids are reading, I am reading. You know, like the sports that my kids participate in, like I was a wrestler and I was a fighter and I'm now playing lacrosse, hockey and ballet and tap dancing, you know, because my kids are doing it. Because I want to be involved in their lives. I want to understand what they're doing. And the last thing that I would ever want to do is take these beautiful, brilliant creations of mine and then hand them off to somebody. Though there's plenty of people that can do things better than me. Like I'm not going to teach my kids how to play the piano well. But I'll be, my little big butt will be immediately adjacent to that piano teacher as he is sitting there with my children and not ever being alone with them as he's teaching them how to play the piano. I'm also learning how to play the piano again. You know, it's been 35 years.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing I'm most excited about being a parent is getting to learn all over again through the eyes of my children, but alongside them. So it's very cool to me. I've thought that's ever since I was a kid and was like, this will be fun someday again as an adult. I love
long division and fractions. When's the last time that you've done those?
It's been a while.
So let me tell you what. I got an 8-year-old that is teaching me how to do long division right now.
That's amazing.
Super embarrassing.
So this is like the perfect example of the mixed age classroom.
Yeah, it's rough on the ego.
It's good for the kids' ego, though, to understand they can interface with adults and people of different ages and teach them something.
I don't know everything.
Useful. Yeah. It's an
I know
important
a lot.
lesson for them to learn early on.
I had to tear somebody's face off. But...
Long division. Tim, I know you have somewhere you need to be, and I don't want to keep you, but I have one more question that I want to ask you. What is your North Star compass when you think about the kids that you want to have graduating from Apogee? When they turn 18, they become adults, they go out into the real world. You hope you have prepared them to make that transition well. How do you define the types of humans that you want to be stepping out of your program?
I love that question. And that's not for me to answer. That's on them to answer. I want them to be happy. I want them to be full and fulfilled. I want them to be competent and complete. I want them to know right from wrong. Those are all wants for me, but I want them to be them. And they're the spectrum that we have within the walls of that school. Like, we got these little tough shaved head. Like, I know that kid's going to go in the military. I know it. And that's awesome. And that's what he wants. Right. And then I see this beautiful little girl that is just all creation and exploration and imagination. And I have no idea what she's going to do. Is she going to be an astronaut? Like, is she going to create the next machine that can figure out and predict where cancer's coming from? I don't know. Or is she going to be like the most beautiful illustrator on the planet? I have no idea. She could literally be anything. But whatever they're going to be, I want them to be full, fulfilled, content, and what they are. That's for them.
That's a great answer. Thank you so much. This has been so much fun. Yeah. I really appreciate you.
Thank you for everything that you do, man. You're preaching the gospel. You're doing the thing that I wish everybody did right now, which is start questioning why. Why are we the way that we are right now, and what is broken, and how do we fix it?
The first principles questions are the only way. That's the only hope of recovery from whatever this mess is.
It's not too late.
No, it's not too late at all. And what you're doing, like the model that you're running, is very exciting. And the types of things that you're doing, these alternatives to the system, they work. The products of them, the kids that come out of them are incredible humans. Yeah, they are. They're an amazing testament to
there's a couple of them out on the mats today.
Yeah?
Yeah. I should have just grabbed them. And I mean, these are like graduating from high school, already know where they're like making real crazy money, and they're 17.
What are they coming out of?
Schools.
Are they homeschoolers, or are they?
They're homeschoolers that are in acting programs.
Oh, amazing! Yeah, that's so cool.
I should have snagged and read it, but Matt, I appreciate you. I appreciate you coming here. Thank you for everything.
Thank you,
Matt. I love you. I wish that you're right here.
We'll have him on too.
Yeah, dude, he's amazing.
He is.
Yeah, bearded, fierce human right there, doing lots of good.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that's a wrap. I hope that you enjoyed this episode as much as I did. If you did enjoy it, please leave a 5-star rating on Apple or Spotify. And please remember to subscribe to the show wherever you listen, on Apple, Spotify, or YouTube, to make sure you don't miss next week's episode. Thank you so much for being here. I'll see you all next week.